Okay, this is Module 3, Topic A review of what is being taught. And so in Module 3, we start multiplying with fractions. And the first unit's pretty simple. It focuses on the different strategies that can be used. So let's jump right on in. Sorry about that. Okay, so the first strategy that we use is an array. So it may look like something like this. Just a set of circles. So this array represents a total of 12, and the problem might say 1/3 of 12. Now, if students get an array, something like this, similar to this, they need to know that this denominator represents the number of groups. So they have to decide how they're going to break it apart. Are they going to make columns or are they going to make rows? Well, because it's thirds, I know I'm going to need 3 groups, which means 3 rows. And one of these rows is equal to 4 circles. So 1/3 of 12 is equal to 4. Same goes true if I would ask what is 2/3 of 12? We would be looking at 2 of these rows, which would be equal to 8. And the same goes true for the rest. Oh, excuse me. Sorry. Still getting used to this. Okay. So the second strategy that we used was looking at a number line. And one way to use the number line is if the question was, what is 1/3 of 4 wholes? Students can draw that number line, know that 4 is on one side, 0 is on the other. We fill in those holes. Okay, and I got that from here. Now, because it's thirds, I'm going to divide each of my holes into thirds. So 1/3, 2/3, 3/3 would be the whole, and I would continue such way. So in order to determine what 1/3 of 4 actually is, I would go in between each of these holes and shade in 1/3. So in between 0 and 1, I've shaded in 1/3. In between 1 and 2, I'm going to shade in another third. In between 2 and 3, I'm going to shade in another third. And in between 3 and 4, I'm going to shade in my final third. And so that leaves me with 1, 2, 3, 4 thirds shaded. So my answer here is 4 thirds. Now, students can leave this as an improper fraction, or they can go ahead and convert it into a mixed number. They have to pick one. They can't do both on the test. Have to pick one. All right. Using a tape diagram is another way. We use tape diagrams so much throughout the year, so it's really important that students are familiar with them. So let's say our problem is 3/4 of 20. Okay, so in this situation, 20 is my whole, and because my denominator is 4, I'm going to cut it into 4 pieces. I am looking for the value of 3 of those units. So I'm going to gather up 3 at the bottom and use my question mark. So before I can do anything, excuse me, before I can do anything else, I need to find the value of just one of these units. So I would write on the side, 1 unit is equal to 20 divided by 4. And I know that that answer is 5. So every single one of these units has a value of 5. In order to find the value of 3 of those units, I would say 3 units is equal to 3 times 5, which is equal to 15. So 3/4 of 20 is equal to 15. And that's how we use the tape diagrams. Okay, I hope this is starting to help. Students at this point are realizing that the word of also means to multiply. So they're going to start seeing a mixture of both of and the word, the word of and the symbol for multiplication. So when we talk about using the multiplication symbol instead of, oh goodness, we may have something that looks like 2/3 times 7. And students are told, anytime you see that whole number of 7, go ahead and write it as a fraction over 1. Now, before we even solve, we know that this product is going to be less than 7. Because 2/3 is less than a whole. It is extremely important that students know that. They're going to see that a lot. So 2/3 times 7 over 1 can be rewritten as 2 times 7 over 3 times 1. And we get 14 over 3. Now, again, it can be left as an improper fraction, or it can be converted into that mixed number of 4 2/3. They cannot write both. If they write both, it's going to be marked wrong. They have to do one or the other. Another thing to kind of think about, if you have 2/3, as being less than a whole, think about if you have 4/3 of 7. We know that 4/3 of 7 is going to be greater than 7 because 4/3 is greater than 1 whole. So we start to think, okay, 4/3 times 7, I can write that as a fraction over 1. Or it could be written as 4 times 7 over 3. The reason I try to tell students to do it this way is because sometimes they'll try to multiply the 7 by both the numerator and the denominator. And they'll easily get confused. So most of the time I tell them, put that 7, that whole number over 1, and then multiply just going straight across. So in this case, you have 28/3. Okay. Then we move into conversions. So with conversions, the same 3 steps apply no matter what you are converting. And we use break the unit, rename the unit, and then solve. And that works for every conversion. So the first problem we're going to look at goes from a larger customary unit into a smaller customary unit. So if I have 3/4 of a gallon, how many quarts does that equal? Again, I'm going from a larger unit, such as gallons, into a smaller unit, such as quarts. And I'm going to use those 3 steps: break the unit, rename the unit, solve. So by breaking that unit, I'm saying it's going to be 3/4 times 1 gallon. Because we know anything times 1 is itself. So essentially, I have not changed the value of 3/4 of a gallon by simply breaking it apart from its unit. So now I'm going to, in fact, rename the unit. So since I'm wanting it to be quarts, I'm going to rewrite this as 3/4 times 4 quarts. Because I know that 1 gallon is equivalent to 4 quarts. So again, I'm just renaming the unit. still has the same value. And my last step is to solve. So 3/4 times 4 over 1 is 3 times 4 over 4, which is 12/4. Now we know that 12/4 is equivalent to 3 wholes. So 3/4 of a gallon is equal to 3 quarts. That's going from larger customary units to smaller customary units. So the last one focuses on moving from smaller customary units into larger customary units. And it's the exact same 3 steps. So for this problem, I'm going to look at 40 days equals how many weeks? Again, smaller to larger. Step 1, same as usual, break the unit. So 40 times 1 day. Step 2, rename it. 40 times. Now I'm trying to convert this into weeks. You have to know that 1 day is 1/7 of a week because there are 7 days in a week. So again, that value has not changed. And then step 3, solve. So 40 times 1/7 is 47ths. Again, you do not have to convert that. You can leave it just as it is. But what I like to tell the kids is, do we go around saying, oh, I have 47ths of a week's, 47ths, excuse me, weeks left to meet my AR goal? No, we don't say that. In turn, what we say was 5 5/7 weeks. But on the test, either answer is acceptable. Okay? And the last thing I want to show you is how students are tackling word problems in class. So the steps that they take, first they have to read the problem all the way through. So Jessa needs 15 quarts of milk to make all of the cakes she needs for the bake sale. How many gallons of milk does she need to buy? All right, step 2 is they read the problem a second time, but they stop after every sentence. So what I kind of do is go through, find the little periods, and draw a little line like a stop sign. And it looks like we only have 2. As they stop, they draw whatever they can, and then they read the next sentence. So let's start. Jessa needs 15 quarts of milk. Okay, so 15 quarts to make all of the cake she needs for the bake sale. How many gallons of milk does she need to buy? So I know in this case, I'm going to be converting this into gallons. Okay, so writing my expression, I'm going to go ahead and change my quarts into gallons by using my steps. Step 1, break that unit. So 15 times 1 quart. Now renaming that unit. 1 quart is the same as 1/4 of a gallon. And then we go ahead and solve. So 15 times 1 over 1 times 4 gives me 15/4. Okay? Now, 15/4 is completely acceptable for the test, but I try to tell the students that in real life, we don't go around giving people improper fractions. So we would want them to, in fact, go ahead and convert this, okay? So I would have 3 3/4 of a gallon. And then that last step, they are supposed to write a sentence. So all I tell them to do is take that question and go ahead and flip it into a statement. So Jessa needs to buy 3 3/4 gallons of milk. And I'm just using that abbreviation there. It really should be written out. Okay, the code word for this video is going to be boat. So you can head on over to that Google form, put that code in, and get your me money when you return. Have a great day.